From chips to matcha coffee, Red Bull to Old Monk, school canteens to elite clubs, neighborhood cafes to luxury fine dines. A new, fast and feisty FSSAI has trained its spotlight squarely on India's entire foods and drinks universe. State enforcers like the Maharashtra FDA are out in the streets, inside eatery kitchens, at chemists, barging into warehouses in a slew of inspections and enforcements, even shutdowns. The rules aren't new, the crackdown is, and it's jolting industry players out of their comfort zones like never before. But how much and how swiftly can the government's sharper, stricter shake-up clean up the way India eats and serves? In the first of this two-part series, my colleague Vikas Tandekar spoke to Tukaram Munde, the much-in-news Commissioner Maharashtra FDA, who's been leading the charge, suspending the license of well-known outlets like Parsi Dairy Farm and going after hospitals, restricting patients to in-house pharmacies. In this episode, we speak to two voices from the industry who are all out candid about what the government is doing right and what it could perhaps do in moderation. I'm your host Ratna Bhushan, ET's FMCG editor, and it's Tuesday, the 4th of August. This is the Morning Brief. First up, Anjan Chatterjee, founder of the listed specialty restaurants, owns marquee brands in India and London, including mainland China and Asia Kitchen, and is one of the most important stakeholders of the National Restaurant Association. Good morning, Anjan. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi. Good morning, Ratna.
Right. So, Anjan, the food services sector has never seen such sharp scrutiny before from regulators. Isn't the cleanup much needed?
You couldn't be more right. See, this is a business of conscience. So, what is important is that the poor customer, if I may say so, comes in with full trust because he expects that the food which is coming to the plate is actually very well taken care of from the parameters of hygiene, food safety. Now, unfortunately, in India, because of the regularity authorities, people who are regulating it were not so stringent. So, things become a little lackadaisical. I'll just take you to London, where we run a restaurant called Chaurangi, where there's a food safety authority, and they actually give you stars from 1 star to 5 stars, depending on your audit. They come unannounced, like what is being done in India now, and they actually audit every point. Early in the morning, they will come and they'll go through the same thing. It's not a raid. Only one person comes in, checks the whole protocol list, and goes back, files a report, mind you, and gives you 15 days to respond to that. They may degrade you from, say, 5 star to 4 star, and they tell you that if you wish to get back to 5 star, please apply after the 15th day or the 14th day by paying, say, X amount of money, £100 or something, so that we can send our food safety authority inspector of the region once again. But they don't cancel the license unless otherwise the hygiene levels are zero. And also in the Western countries, the awareness of, hygiene in terms of cleanliness is much more. It's escalated. So I'm saying that it's a very important thing, unless you are appalling in your standards that you completely flouted all rules of pest control not being done. And actually, frankly speaking, in India, there are many famous restaurants, no offense meant to them, very popular. If we go to the back of the house, I'm sure that none of us will ever eat that food. So it's all behind the scene. And I'm very happy that it's being actually exposed. They've suddenly woken up, and that's the reason we are all getting shaken up. But I'm telling you, from our end, there have been 9 audits, touch wood. All audits, we've got 100 marks. There have been one suggestive thing like, you don't keep this in the store, you keep that. But broadly, everything has passed with 10 out of 10.
So, Anjan, the Cricket Club of India has approached the Bombay High Court challenging the FDA suspension order. Do you foresee an escalation of similar legal disputes between regulators and companies on this matter?
Yeah, if I feel so, or maybe another restaurant whose license has been cancelled, for example, Aditya Birla's group had a few restaurants. They were cancelled. They didn't go to court. I really don't know why they did not go to court. Maybe they didn't want to take the authorities head on. But CCI, I'm sure they must be having a reason. As long as you're following the protocol and the book which has been given to you, you are by and large there 99%. I don't think that the authorities will come and revoke your license. But at the same time, there must have been some gap which their lawyers have seen, and they have seen an opportunity to go back there and tell the court, honorable court, that we are not at fault. So for this kind of punishment.
So, what's the way forward that that consumer interests are protected and both sides, equanimity is maintained?
I think that all the operators have to wake up if they have not woken up already. It's a question of a restaurateur's responsibility, his conscience. You need to ensure that you give them a hygienic, safe food on the platter. And also, kept with. I'll give you an example because not many restaurants follow. Once, lots of people will keep 7-10 days food inside the refrigerator. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to label it. And I think that every restaurateur has a responsibility. The least they can do is to ensure that the food going there, for which there are audits, there are ways and means to do, there is deep cleaning. I don't know how many of them do. The organized sector is doing it. But अगर आप किसी वड़ा पाव वाले के पास चले जाएं, बहुत अच्छा खाना है, उसका वड़ा पाव है या उसल मिसल है, etc. Even that is food. When I come back from my daughter's house from Pune, I stop there and eat. But I never peep in to see what the hell is the kitchen. Where is it coming from? Plus another thing is coming, cloud kitchens now. Where is the control there? So what I'm saying is that the authorities who control this were not, escalating it to this level. Now, everybody is woken up. Maybe some are high-handedness, maybe, brackets, or may not be. But the fact that the authorities have suddenly escalated to that level, cancellation X, Y, Z, good. They're waking all the restaurateurs up. And we are only saying that authorities must also be a little more understanding. Since they've gone to the court, CCI, I'm very sure about the fact that there must be some reasons. So I am saying we should take it as an opportunity rather than saying that we are being given a threatening. And I think that every restaurateur must wake up in the morning and promise saying that we are giving you safe, hygienic food.
Absolutely. And finally, I just, like to ask you that there is a school of thought that suspension may not be the way forward. They could probably give notices of at least a fortnight or, like 20 days. What is your view on this?
I completely agree with you. I said that unless the standards are appalling, whereas you have pest all around, you have all the rules flouted, no control on the deep cleaning, there is nothing, full negligence at the back of the house. Unless there is so much seriousness, I don't think revoking a license is the best idea. Revoking is the last option. Overall, a benefit of doubt should be given. You reduce my marks from 5-star to 2-star or 1-star, but don't revoke my license. Unless otherwise we find it to be appalling and it's not fit for human consumption, shut the restaurant.
Next, Ashwin Bhadri, founder of Equinox Labs, a leading food, water, and environmental testing organization. He works closely with businesses and regulators to strengthen compliance, consumer trust, and food safety standards across India. Hi, Ashwin. Nice to have you on the Morning Brief. Thank you for joining us.
Hey Ratna, always a pleasure talking to you.
So Ashwin, I'm sure very busy times for you. There's so much action out there. Why this sudden surge in regulatory scrutiny? What in your view triggered all this?
So I think there are two parts. The first one, let me address the question in Maharashtra right now. Since there is a new commissioner who's come in, I think he's doing a brilliant job at enforcing the law. So I have seen FSSAI right from its early days, right from when it was born. I've been playing some role or the other with it. And I've always seen that the lot of advancements have happened when the person on top wants to make changes. There is a lot of ways that those changes can help citizens of India. At a central level as well, we have a new CEO who's come a few months ago. So I think he's also driving a lot of changes. Driving changes at a central level can sometimes take a little longer. But however, I think many of the steps that they're taking are in the right direction.
Okay, but shouldn't all this have happened much earlier?
Absolutely. I cannot agree more with you. Finally, anybody is going to move as fast or as effectively as their highest authority. In FSSAI's case, I remember working very closely with an ex-CEO of FSSAI, Mr. Pawan Agarwal. While he was in office, I think we were able to do more work than anything that happened from the start of FSSAI till he was there. After he left, things slowed down quite a bit because I think the next few CEOs, were maybe not as focused as they should have been or didn't take action as much as they should have. And I'm very happy to see that the new CEO is, very, very focused and he's doing a brilliant job at ensuring that the food served in India, what is imported, what is exported, what is served within the country is doing a brilliant job.
So there's an obvious sort of pushback from companies, whether it's food companies or energy drinks or even restaurants or the elite clubs. Is the industry justified in this pushback?
So there is a little bit of justification which is there. So while the intent in Maharashtra and across India is that every citizen of India deserves safe and nutritious food, I think some of the tactics which are being currently used, I think could be softened a little bit. For example, if an FD officer goes for a raid, if they find something off, they should be first issuing an improvement notice. And after 15 days, if improvements haven't been done, then a suspension or cancellation, I think, should follow. Issuing or cancelling a license or suspending a license right away without notice, I think, is slightly on the harsher side. And we also have to look at the legality of whether that is something that should happen. Or see, if there is imminent danger, if that, hey, the next person consuming the meal is going to fall ill, maybe there is justification in cancelling the license. But if there is no imminent danger, if it's just things that can be improved upon with no risk to immediate food safety or immediate harm to humans, then I think an improvement notice will work much better. And the industry will understand that yes, FSSAI and FDA are working along with them. They're not the enemies of the industry. They are a part of that entire ecosystem. And the beauty is, I run a group called the Food Founder Ecosystem. We have about 9,000 food founders in there. The conversations which are happening over there are very interesting. The industry is actually supporting what he's doing because most people are complying, right? People are having proper labeling. They have the proper testing done. They're doing the audits. They're making sure that the kitchens are clean. But the people who are not doing it were getting away with it, right? With the new enforcement drive, what is going to be happening is people are going to showcase that, hey, if we are operating, we're doing a good job. Under FSSAI, there is something called the hygiene rating scheme, right? Which allows restaurants to actually showcase their hygiene because not everyone can step into a kitchen or wants to step into a kitchen. But a rating scheme of any kind of auditing allows end users to make, they feel safer that the food that I'm eating at this establishment, it could be a restaurant, it could be a club, or wherever, is safe. And I think that is a basic human right.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question directly related to this is that, some food makers have alleged that the FSSAI definitions itself need to be updated because there's been an explosion of all kinds of, international cuisine, Japanese, Korean, Chinese food, etc. And that the definitions fall through the cracks and they do not know in the first place that they are even flouting, the existing definitions. Right or wrong?
Right. There are two things to address over here. When a new ingredient is introduced, the origin country from where it is coming in obviously will conduct its own food safety assessment. Now, should India blindly accept their food safety assessment, or should India independently also verify it? I think as a country, as a growing nation, we should have regulations in place that verify that any new ingredient which is coming into our country is safe. And that's exactly what FSA is asking for. So while FSSAI has regulations in place for novelty ingredients, the speed at which it's operating can possibly be a little faster. Because if I'm the importer, if I'm a food company that's trying to bring in a novel ingredient, I cannot afford to wait for 6 months or a year. Right? Getting that approval within 30 to 60 days, which I think is a reasonable time frame, will allow food businesses to also make sure that whatever they are importing is also safe. Right? See, if I'm a food company and you're selling me something from Japan, I don't actually know whether what you're doing is safe or not, right? Because you may not share the safety data with me. But if my country has verified that yes, the new novel ingredient, the new additive that you're adding to your product is safe, it allows me also to operate with more confidence.
Correct, which is exactly what's happening in the market right now. And, even when it comes to energy drinks, they've called for consultations before mandates are passed. Do you agree?
In some places, yes, FSSAI has always been a very collaborative body. I've been a part of a lot of those consultations as well. But there are times when you do not need to consult because we very well know that this is scientifically wrong or this can cause harm to our citizens, at which case FSSAI may take a unilateral decision of banning a product or bringing something in. However, the spirit of FSS has always been that, hey, we are a consultative body. We are not just going to, every decision is not unilateral, because there are committees at FSI right now as well. There are a lot of meetings that happen where they listen to the ecosystem as well. Can those meetings happen more often? Absolutely. And can those minutes of those meetings be made public? I think that should also happen.
Okay, I get that, Ashwin. One more question. There's been this sweeping ban in schools in Maharashtra. So there is a lot of chatter that what happened in Maharashtra today could happen, in other states sooner than later. Is this much needed or somewhat extreme?
As a parent of two children, I actually agree with what is happening. The habits that we form in our adult life are born in our childhood. So if our kids eat healthier when they're younger, right, those habits will translate into their adult life as well. So I completely agree with it. Now, how well it can be enforced, right now, I think there's a 50-meter thing. I think that technically should be enhanced a little more because kids can easily walk more than 50 meters. If you're store at 60 meters, I can just go to 60 meters, right? However, I think there are two things that should be happening. The ban is one, but two, educating children on the importance of safety and nutrition is something that schools are taking up. I'm invited many a times, and many other experts are invited to schools independently. However, maybe from FDA or FSSAI making these talks almost mandatory every year, let's say for middle school or senior school, because obviously there are new findings that come up as well. Making maybe even a half an hour, 1 hour talk, making that mandatory at every school will help kids to understand that what am I putting in my body, because nobody wants to consume something where knowingly they know, oh, it's going to cause something really bad, right? So that education becomes absolutely important.
Correct, absolutely. And my final question, Ashwin, is that 1 year down the line, where do you see the food safety, the food ecosystem? Because what has happened now, the reforms seem to be sweeping, and whether it's restaurants, cafes, from elite clubs to schools to drinks to alcohol, everyone has the spotlight on them. So 1 year down the line, where do you see this sector going?
So one thing I'm seeing is overall the hygiene levels of the entire food industry will be higher. Anyone who is flouting the laws knowingly, like, making adulterated milk or reselling expired products, should be penalized at the highest level possible by the law. And those examples will make sure that people are not knowingly causing harm. The second thing is education in the industry, where nobody wants to break the rules. It's just sometimes they don't know what all the rules are, right? So training sessions, either conducted by the government or privately, will ensure that people, not just the owners, but even food handlers, are aware of what are the regulations and what they need to do to comply. so that education becomes a big pillar. So the big change that I'm seeing is in the next 1 year, the entire level of hygiene and of food safety will rise in the country, and founders, managers, and food handlers will know better so they can be better and do better. So I think that sweeping change, I don't think is going away anytime soon. And a lot of people are putting the spotlight on food safety, on nutrition. And I think it's needed for us as a country.
Yes, absolutely. Great conversation, and looking forward very much to what next for the sector.
Thanks a lot, Ratna. Always a pleasure chatting with you.
The government's crackdowns aren't stopping anytime soon. There's pushback from industry players. Some cases are already in court. Animated lobbying is underway for a middle ground. But regulators aren't relenting, with licenses being suspended left, right, and center, from lapses that have come to light on expired ingredients, to unsafe storage, to hygiene issues, to inefficient segregation of vegetarian and non-vegetarian food. Mumbai's Elite Cricket Club of India is already in court challenging the FDA's decision to suspend its license. More legal disputes are in the works. Meanwhile, the long-awaited cleanup continues at a frenzied pace. That's it for today. We hope you enjoyed listening to this short series. This is your host Ratna Bhushan from the Economic Times, signing off. This episode was produced by Anirban Chaudhary, sound editor Amrit Reggie. The Morning Brief drops thrice a week on all your favorite listening platforms. Thank you for listening and have a nice day ahead.